Welcome everyone to a new edition of the Monday Night Wars. This is WCW Monday Night Nitro, week 73. This is the 78th episode of Nitro, but the 73rd week they go at it head-to-head. Nitro beats Raw for the 37th week in a row. The scores were 3.5 to 2.3. So through 72 weeks now, Nitro has 54 wins, WWF has 17 and 2 draws. This is the Nitro with a 3.5 rating. The first hour is by Zbyszko and Schiavone, unless the nWo take over. And the second hour, Mike Tenay and Bobby Heenan will join Schiavone while Zbyszko goes away. This took place from the Club La Villa in Panama City Beach, Florida, on March the 10th, 1997. The show begins with Hollywood Hogan and Dennis Rodman with the pool around the outside of the ring. Really neat venue. The show begins with Hollywood Hogan and Dennis Rodman saying "Too Sweet" on the cover of Double Team. And they tease that Rodman might be in the nWo. A white limo shows up and Schiavone says that's usually the nWo that show up in limos, but the icon Roddy Piper steps out with his team, headed by John Tenta and a couple other guys. Zbyszko said they're wearing like Scottish outfits. Zbyszko says so far it hasn't been confirmed, but we'll find out later if Rodman's joined the nWo. An outdoor look with no roof on the place. It's spring break. There's a pool surrounding the ring, and then they're right on the ocean, right by the sand in the ocean, right where the set is. It's really neat. Opening match, it was between the Four Horsemen's Jeff Jarrett and Steve McMichael taking on High Voltage, Kenny Chaos, and Robbie Rage. McMichael Mongo begins in there with Robbie Rage, who goes for an arm wringer, then a big right forearm shot to Mongo. He hits him with a reverse elbow off the ropes. Then Kenny Chaos and Robbie Rage tried to cut their half out of the ring while they dominated Jeff Jarrett when he got tagged in. But Steve McMongo gets the hot tag and comes in and drops Chaos and Rage with elbow shots, flying forearms, body slams, back body drops. Rage then caught Double J as Chaos and Rage get back into the match. High Voltage then take it to Double J with a gut wrench suplex, and Robbie Rage who takes in Kenny Chaos with a springboard senton. A catapult and an arm wringer by Chaos who takes in Rage. Frequent takes cutting off their half of the ring once again. Fans chanting "We want Flair." A pile driver by Mongo McMichael once he's tagged in gets them, and they're done. And the Horsemen are victorious at 4:45. So Jeff Jarrett and Steve McMichael working as a good tandem to get the victory, showing some good partnership. No controversy in this end to this match, because a lot of the controversial finishes between Mongo and McMichael as of late were taking place, but nothing here. 2 stars for that match. I love how Nitro is surrounding the pool. Again, it just looks really neat. You have to wonder if a wrestler's going to get dumped in there. Roddy Piper is introduced into the ring by Mean Gene. He's got his team of Scots, including one John Tenta. Piper said spring break used to mean his bed was broken in the spring. He says that's how he got 6 kids. Funny stuff. Piper talks about Howard Stern being hung as a pimple. What? Okay. Piper then talks trash about the WWF and how when he beat Goldust, he did it with one hip, and the WWF apparently said that we don't have any one-hip wrestlers. Apparently that's what was said. I didn't hear who said it or if it was said, but that's what Roddy Piper comes firing back at. He took that personal. So Piper just blasted WWF, and he says, this is why everyone's watching us, because we don't have any, I forget what the name was. He said, I think icons, or he said WWF has no icons, so that's why everybody's watching us. Anyway, he burned the WWF pretty bad. Anderson tells Piper as the Four Horsemen comes out that he's a rallying point for the Horsemen to pull this thing off against Hogan and the nWo. Piper says he appreciates it, and then Flair grabs their mic and goes, "We're live in Panama City." The crowd pop. Flair then tells Piper he can do more on his own. That's saying to you that Dennis Rodman, we got a pro tackle in Mongo that can turn Rodman into a basketball if Rodman's a part of the nWo against us. So Piper says, I will join you, and they are the unit for Uncensored against the nWo. Prince Aiki defends his TV title against Dave Taylor, Square David Taylor. A decent back and forth, but a rolling crossbody gets the win for Aoki. He's victorious at 248. He retains the TV title. nWo show up in a limo. Macho and Liz come out of the limousine, and Savage just goes, sweet. Eddie Guerrero defends the TV title against Jim Powers. Sorry, the U.S. title against Jim Powers with Teddy Long. Malenko comes on commentary and rips apart Eddie, while Eddie rips apart the arm of Jim Powers. Smart strategic wrestling to get the man down and then work on his legs. He put him in a leg lock. Try to take the big man off his vertical base. Eddie Guerrero with a lateral press and a near fall. Eddie with a leapfrog comes off with a hop hip toss, a high knee to the head. Malenko breaks down Eddie on commentary. Meanwhile, Eddie Guerrero hits a drop kick to Powers, the bigger man. Guerrero gets his name chanted while he's reversed Irish whipped into the buckle. A beautiful belly-to-belly overhead suplex by Powers to Guerrero. Guerrero then ducks and hits Powers with a high running knee off the side ropes. Body slam by Eddie Guerrero. Then he springboards into the ring with a senton on the outside apron. Powers is managed by Teddy Long and gets shoved off the apron, and Eddie Guerrero rolls him up at 2:52. Good wrestling for a under 3-minute match here as Eddie retains the U.S. title over Jim Powers, rated at 2 stars. Eddie gets on the mic afterward and says Malenko is the one that he's the one that hasn't been changing as of late. He says everyone's sick and tired of hearing about how he's changed. He says Malenko is the one that's changed, and at Uncensored, he's going to beat him for the U.S. title. DDP takes down Sergeant Craig Pittman with Teddy Long. DDP is at war with Savage in the NWO, but the NWO have this thing where they don't remember his name as a joke. Because this was, most WCW stars are ex-WWF stars, but DDP was he grew up through the ranks of WCW, so the NWO are just like, who is this guy? Just as a shot to DDP, but he wins with a diamond cutter at 4:30, rated that match a star. DDP talked about Savage in the NWO, and the power was cut. The lights went off. I thought it was part of the show, but no, they come back from commercial and they get the power back on. And DDP says, you're going to remember my name, not as Diamond Dallas Page Savage, but as DDP. Bang. So this is the genesis of PWI's Feud of the Year in 1997. All these feuds in ECW, WWF, and WCW, and they give it to they give it to Page and Savage. So this is the genesis of that rivalry, which took off in 1997. Rey Mysterio Jr. took on Galaxy. Good high-flying match here. Ray wins at 3:21 with a springboard Hurricane Rana off the ropes like he always does. Hour 2 on Nitro, and the pyro goes off. They talk about Piper being on the same side as a horseman. Luger, Giant, Rick Steiner, and Scott Steiner took on Greg Valentine, Roadblock, Jacques Rougeau, and Pierre. 8-man tag. Most of them got a few of their sequences in, or spots in during the sequences, I should say. It ended with a choke slam from the Giant at 2:11. It rated at 3/4 of a star. Luger then got on the mic, as did the Giant, as did the Steiners. They talked about how they're a cohesive unit and the NWO's going down. Ultimo Dragon with Sonny Ono took on Juventud Guerrera. Both men nearly landed in the pool on the outside as their aerial high-risk assault was going near the outside of the ring. Ultimo Dragon was really one of the best cruiserweights of all time. Juventud with a 450 splash to the ring. A running powerbomb by Ultimo Dragon, and then he gets the victory at 4:53 after textbook Lucha Libre wrestling. Probably the best match of the night, 2.5 stars. Scotty Riggs took on Chris Jericho. Jericho comes out with a smiley babyface type of character, a hip toss to Riggs by Jericho, and Riggs still comes out to the Bad American Males theme song. And there's no American Males anymore. Speaking of which, his American Male former tag partner Buff Bagwell comes out and attacks Riggs, so he wins by DQ, star and a quarter. Medusa says she should be used more and wants the women's title. In an interview with Mean Gene, Kevin Sullivan takes on Hardbody Harrison, and Sullivan, they battle almost to the ocean on the outside sand pit. And then they come and then he throws Harrison into the pool, rated at 3/4 of a star. After the match, the NWO shows up, and Sting's looking docile while the rest of the NWO are there to just do their usual part. Hogan says Rodman's in the NWO. Hogan puts an NWO shirt on Sting, but he just looks at him like Edward Scissorhands during dinner. And Hogan says that Rodman will be a part of Sundays Uncensored. Then they cut to a Public Enemy promo, and they get jumped by Harley Heat, and that's how we go off the air. I rated this episode a 5.5 out of 10 because it had some decent wrestling, and ratings-wise, it won 3.5 to 2.3 over Raw for the 37th week in a row. So there wasn't great wrestling, just that Ultimo Dragon match that stood out to me, and Eddie and Jim Powers was okay. But no Nitros in 1997 are bad Nitros. They're all pretty good. It's just this one was rather average, especially for a go-home show to Uncensored. So we'll see how Nitro after Uncensored goes. This is Nitro, and this is a Nitro review. I'm Brett Mix. If you like the Monday Night War reviews, hit like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Brett Mix, and I'm out.